Alright, hey guys, this is the second video of this little course. So in this one, I just want to kind of talk a little bit more about making those controls. So let's just start by creating a little skeleton. So let's make like a skeleton in the rigging tab. Just go create joints and then let's just make a little chain. We're gonna hold X and just drag and drop a few joints in there. And let's say that this is our chain, right? I can move it. And so you will notice here that if I hold W, I can switch between object mode, which is aligned to this little gizmo here, then everything moves like this. But if I hold W and go to object, then it actually shows me how those joints are orientated, which is nice, right? And then if I want to select all the joints, I shift click here and I shift click the whole hierarchy. And I can display, transform display, local rotation axis. That shows me how all of them are orientated, which is helpful. So now I'm going to make a control for myself, create like a NURB circle again, and we're going to go through the same steps, right? Okay, let's shape the control. So let's say I want it to be linear, and I'm happy with how this looks now. If I wanted to make it bigger or smaller, I go F8 and scale components. That way I can adjust the side without affecting the scale. That's very important. So I'm going to name it my 01 CTRL. So that's number one. Then if I want to color it, I go to object display, drawing overrides, enable overrides, blah, blah, blah. Drawing overrides, enable overrides, and then I choose a color, which is not it's kind of tedious, which is why the scripting comes in handy. Then if I feel like my controls are too thin, again, I go into my display and I do line width bigger, maybe 2. Now that's better, right? And so with my control, I can then group it while it's here at 0, 0, 0, and I go my 0, 1 control group, right? And this is like my control, like a template that I can use. So how many joints I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's say 5. I don't want to rig the last one. So I need to create 4 copies. Control D, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then, unfortunately, I have to rename them manually while we're not using any tools just yet. And, you know, it's a little bit tedious, but that's when you start appreciating things like scripts and tools, which makes everything in Maya just much faster and easier. So, okay, here I am. It's all done. Now, how do I snap my controls? Because look at my controls. If I select my control or its group, and I can, in fact, also display local rotation axis, it's kind of like this. It's not really aligned at all with my joints. Okay, so let's grab this guy. Let's shift click on the first joint and then go modify match transformation, match all transforms. And so that snaps my control to my joint. All right. Then I can do the second one. And if I like this match transforms, I can Ctrl Shift click it. And that way, Ctrl Shift click here. That's way it's going to just get added to my little shelf here. So I can select this and this and just match transforms. Another thing I can do, I can select this and this and press G on the keyboard, which makes Maya repeat the last command I used. So I select those two things, G. Those two things, G. So this looks good, but surprising thing is that those circles are not really facing along the joints. That's because when I made my control, when I made my circle, you know, if I go make like a NURBS circle, by default that circle is pointing up in Y, not in X. And my joints are orientated so that the X is pointing towards the next joint, which is normal. So if I wanted to fix that, when I made my control, I would have to grab the components and rotate them 90 degrees like this, which you don't want to eyeball. So if you hold J on your keyboard, you can kind of do it then. And then if I snap my control to the joint, then it will be more aligned. So is it too late now? Well, it's not really too late, because what I can do is I can select all my controls right now, press F8 on them to select their components and drag and drop across. And then I can rotate them all together, but that's only provided if I go hold E for rotation and left click, and make sure that rotate object center is, let's see, off or on. Yeah, see, it has to be on, and that will rotate my controls like this. So if I hold that J and rotate them all like this, now I got myself nice controllers which are aligned with my chain. All right, so that's looking great, and the orientation hasn't changed. All I did was just remodel the shape of the control. So when I'm in